Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Career Retrospectives. One of our last ones of the year, truthfully, in the year 2022. I am joined by my good men, Kyle and Mike. What's going on, guys?
Hey, year's almost done.
Yes, so as the title of this video or podcast or whatever the hell you want to call it, it's going to be a low-key night, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight, we're going to be doing our top 5 best albums of 2022 that we have listened to that came out this year, and we are going to go around in a big we're going to 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, and then we're going to have each one of us discuss our 5th or 4th and onward and so forth. And so this should be good. I'm excited to do this one tonight. It should be a good one since we're so close to the end of the year. Truthfully, I'm gonna go first, right? Just want to make sure.
Yeah, sounds good.
All righty, cool. So my number 5 pick for as far as 2022 went, as far as albums that got released goes, was this one was kind of surprised me, truthfully. But when I heard they were releasing a new album, I was like, all right, you have my attention. I'm a big fan of the band, whatever, right? But it's an album we actually did not discuss on this show, but I said, I listened to it the other day for the first time. I was like, wow, that's actually pretty good for what I heard. And that's Journey's Freedom. Journey released a new album in this year, 2022, and they announced a tour for it for next year. This album, to me, I mean, you still hear the same. It's basically just a modern take on a lot of Journey's songs. Truthfully, I really liked it for what it was worth. It beat that Def Leppard, Diamond Star Halos to bits, that was a terrible album. Oh my god. But this one actually.
Stay tuned for our 5 worst albums.
Yes, that's next week. Can't wait to do that. Yeah. Oh my god, next week's we're gonna roast the living hell out of a lot of stuff. But Jordy,
that's Jordy's not there.
No, that was last year, right? No, but I was kind of taken back by how surprisingly good this was, given that their most recent release before this was 2011. So it literally been like 11 years between albums. And you think the band might have petered off a little bit, but I thought Arnell's vocals, the lead vocals, Arnell Pinette, I thought his vocals were actually pretty good for this. He is like 54 now, but he still moves like he's 30. It's crazy. But I was a big fan of this album. I thought it was a total surprise for me. I actually really liked it for what it was, and that was my number 5. But yeah, Journey's Freedom was my number 5 of the year of 2022. Kyle, why don't you go next for your albums? Your number 5 album of 2022.
My number 5 is something that we talked about on this channel months ago when it first came out. And it's one that may get me into trouble with the gatekeepers of the rock genre and the pop punk genre. But Machine Gun Kelly's Mainstream Sellout, number 5.
I knew you were going to say this.
So
I felt it.
Is it as good as Tickets to My Downfall was in 2020? No, definitely not. But 2022 was a year that was full of a lot of releases that were pretty mediocre, if we're going to be honest.
Yeah.
So this record, it's way darker than the one before it. Lyrical themes throughout, very dark. It does come off a little bit uninspired throughout, I will admit, but overall, it's very well done. It benefits heavily from having Travis Barker as a writing partner and working on, song structures and things like that with him. The drums shine through. The features work very well on this one. Actually, the song Maybe with Ollie Sykes from Bring Me the Horizon, kick-ass song. The Lil Wayne feature on A really brings Machine Gun Kelly's rap focus to the forefront of that song, and I really enjoy that. Overall, excellent album. Deluxe edition brought it down a tiny bit. I'm not gonna lie, there's a little unnecessary things on there. Overall, if this is the last pop punk record he does for a while, I'll be satisfied. I know the talk is that he's going to do another rap album next. But for what it's worth, I really enjoyed his pop punk stuff, and I think it was great for the genre to get back in the mainstream the way it did.
Yeah. And if you guys want to know more about what Kyle and I talked about for that, go check out our other podcast that we did for that one album. We did in depth for like an hour. So yeah, just check that one out too. But anyways, Mike, Number
Oh.
5.
Machine Gun Kelly sounds like a lovely girl. But anyway,
She is.
yeah. Starting off with number 5. Now, I want to preface my list as in no specific order, so I don't want it to seem like I'm glorifying my number 1 or kind of grounding my number 5, because I personally felt this was a weak year for releases. I found myself kind of like feeling very lukewarm on a lot of the stuff that I picked. I'll be honest with you, 2021, and this is what I'm going to do for each one of mine. I'm actually going to list simultaneously a 21 album I loved, and how 2022 has kind of changed in that direction. So to just kind of have a parent piece here, I for 2021, I've some of the best albums I've ever listened to in the last like 5 years came out in 2021. So one of those albums was Omnium Gatherum's Origins. I mean, if you haven't checked it out, it's one of the best mellow death albums I've ever listened to. So it's kind of shooting to 2022 for my number 5 was one of the albums we actually listed on here. Major earworm for me, man. This thing, like, it just stuck in my head, and I almost woke up singing the songs almost, and that's the infectious kind of catchiness that tends to sit well with me on these lists versus like those artsy kind of like very let's say obscure releases. So that would be Ozzy's Patient number 9. I actually thought that was a great album. It has a lot of good star power on it. It's just got and that's what makes it almost gives it more power, because it's like not just Ozzy anymore. It's just like all these, it's like almost listening to a compilation album of different talents play music, and you could almost pit that up against a band that's has just themselves and no one else kind of helping them out. And it almost is unfair. It's almost unfair. But yeah, like even with it all its flaws, like the vocals being kind of processed, and some of the kind of not so organic feel to it, very electronic. I wouldn't say digitally, kind of produced. I wouldn't say electronic, but digitally studio engineered. Ozzy Patient number 9 was just one of those albums that I just enjoyed more than I thought. It grew on me more, and it would even say, it's even beg to say I might even tweak my rating by a 0.5. As I began to kind of listen to it in my collection, and dig it up after not listening to it for months and months and months. So yeah, Occupation number 9. That is my number 5, but not number 5. It's just one of my 5. So yeah,
one of your 5. Perfect.
That's Patient number 5.
Patient number 5. Oh, Kyle, well done, man. Well done.
Patient number 5, baby. There we
with
go.
the assist.
Oh my god. So we're up to number 4 now, right? Yeah.
Yep.
All right, cool. So I just double triple checking. Forgive me. I'm looking at my notes at the same time. This might surprise some of you guys. This is an album actually we did talk about, and when I listened to it, I was like, wow, this is actually, when Mike first picked this album, I was in shock because I was like, at first I was like, all right, well, it's a brand new album. I'm not sure, like, I haven't listened to this band since like when they're 80s stuff, whatever, right? But actually, Scorpions, we talked about this one, the Scorpions Rock Believer. That one was so good. And we did talk about this album fully. We did a whole like hour-long discussion about it as well. Check out our discussion about why we like this album and stuff like this. But as a release that came out in 2022, I was I was blown away that I couldn't. I was actually in shock that a modern take on like a hard. It was not Def Leppard's Diamond Star Halos, but it was Scorpions Rock Believer that really just cemented that 80s sound for me. Like, yes, I mean, I remember some of the discussions we had for this was like Kyle was like, you don't really go to 80s bands for like the lyrics and stuff like that, but or Mike's pointing out like guitar riffs and stuff like that. But I remember this one specifically had so much to it, and I really, looking back at this year, I was like, this had a really almost underappreciated to an extent because it was just that good of a record, truthfully. Not just as like one hit single or one song here or there, but as a collection of songs, as an album. This was one of my better ones of the year. Truthfully, it was one of my favorites. So my number 4 is going to be Scorpions' Rock Believer. Yeah, so kind of sort of in shock about that one, but actually I remember us talking about it. I was like, you know what, I forgot we did that, and I listened to it again before we did the stream, and I was like, this is actually a really just solid album. It really is. I wonder how it's going to hold them like a year or two. So but yeah, let's see, let's go over to Kyle. Your number 4 for 2022.
My number 4 for 2022, along the same lines as the Machine Gun Kelly record at my number 5, it's actually Avril Lavigne's latest album, Love Sucks. I will, be the first to admit it is a bit cringy.
Did you just write April Lavigne? JT?
I couldn't spell it. Forgive me.
I believe that's her less successful
that is
sister
her
who out of wedlock. Yeah, that's the one that the court.
Avril Lavigne. I'm sorry. What was the name of the album?
Love Sucks. SUX, because we're edgy here. I'll be the first to admit it is cringy hearing a 38-year-old woman sing the lyrics that are on here. They sound like they were written by a teenager, but this was a huge return to form for her after her last record was very singer-songwriter, just slow acoustic ballads, and honestly it was boring. The songwriting structure was there on that one, but it wasn't what you go to her to listen to, and that's just what it is. This record's full of a bunch of earworms. It really gets stuck in your head. The features on this really work, except for Black Bear. 2023 resolution: people stop putting Black Bear on features. The man should not be a featured artist. He sounds the same on everything. The Mark Hoppus feature is great. This one, however, is one, again, like the Machine Gun Kelly record, that didn't need a deluxe edition, but we recently got one. And I feel like that brought it down a little bit. If you listen to the deluxe edition, I'm not going to go back to most of those songs. But as a whole, huge return to form, a fun pop punk album. And I really love seeing the pop genre get recognition again. It started in 2020 with Tickets to My Downfall, Machine Gun Kelly blowing up. It's continued. And, you have smaller artists today. And it is a new wave of pop punk, but this one's very traditional, Blink-182, early Blink-182 styled pop punk. And I love to see it. We don't get that much anymore, and very catchy record.
Awesome. And I will remember to spell it correctly next time. Mike, what is your number 4 for 2022? It's Jordy by, I'm just kidding. What?
Jordy, the remix by Jordy.com. No. So yeah, once again, my companion to 2021. One of my favorite albums from that era was that time was The Fire Itself by Phineas, another awesome metalcore album. Just like Kyle was kind of saying, when someone releases an album after a certain amount of time, comes out, like you haven't heard from them in a while, and you're just like surprised to see that they can still bring the that fire, that sound, the good kind of writing. It's just kind of always a shocker. So for 2022, nothing that as monumental as that album, but one of the albums that I had been waiting for so long. This band hadn't released an album since 2018, and that album was just one of my favorite of their entire discography. And basically, I sorry, GT, I had to give you a glare over there.
Discography.
Discography. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Discography was Amorphous's Halo album. Amazing artwork on the front of the album. I love the whole look of it. This album was living in the shadow of a lot of expectation for me. It was almost doomed to fail because I had such huge kind of like there was such huge kind of a hole to fill that it was kind of to kind of just come back from 2018. And after all, that's like if you think about it, 2018 and on, everything kind of went down in the world. If you think about it, it's like, that was kind of like the year that was just kind of like, hey, everybody, like the world is just gonna like melt, and whatever gets put out by these artists after is gonna be tested and put through a lot of pressure. So it had a lot of good songs on it in the nothing amazing, but one of my favorite songs was the opener, Northwards. It was just, it almost sounded like it belonged on the previous album, Queen of Time, which was just such a fantastic album, their 2018 album. It just had some good tracks on it. Nothing that reached into that certain kind of stratosphere as their previous album, but it was nice hearing from a band that I just didn't think they usually wait about 5 years between albums, and so 18, 19, 20, 21, so it was a little earlier than I expected. I always expected them kind of just to put it out maybe this upcoming year, but maybe they rushed it, maybe they just kind of played it the way they wrote it. I don't know, but yeah, for me, Amorphous' Halo album is definitely the fourth pick of my 5 list. I'll put it that way. All right.
And if you're watching us live, forgive me because I misspelled that badly and I tried to recover. That's okay. I was like, wait, what? Yeah. He said amorphosis, amorphosize? What was going on?
Amorphosis.
Amorphosis.
Amorphosis. Yes.
Oh my God. Yes. We're now up to our number 3 of the year. And this might, truthfully, this might surprise some of you guys. I feel like you guys are going to be like, what was he thinking when he decided to do this? But truthfully, I remember listening to it for the very first time. And this is my first time listening to this band in general, but I got to tell you, Shinedown's Planet Zero. I mean, that album was a shocker of a good one for me. I was blown away. And for those of you who are listening to us and wondering, we did talk about this record at one point on our streams several months back when it first came out. I believe it was May, right? Was that May, Kyle?
Somewhere around there, May, June, something like that, I think.
Yeah, it was like the early summertime it came out.
Early summer.
I was taken back because when I was going to it, I'm like, all right, I'm not really expecting, I'm not sure what to expect. And what I got in response and what I got from this album was, wow, this actually truthfully this was an album that showed not only can you enjoy an album by a band that you never heard before, but enjoy an album by a band and then diversify your peak of interest and sounds even more. I was actually really surprised about how much I enjoyed this. And I didn't tell you guys this either. I've gone back to this record more than a couple of times, maybe like 4 or 5 times, and just listened all the way through, and enjoyed the tracks more and more as time has gone on. It's the only record I've heard by them fully. I mean, obviously because Shinedown has had plenty of other albums too, but this one to me was like the first one I heard, and it was my first exposure to them and all that stuff. So I got to tell you, thank you first off for doing that stream. By the way, thanks for that, Kyle, because it opened my eyes up. Like, oh, there's Shinedown's Planet Zero. Who would have thought? So I appreciate that. But yeah, this was a really solid, good record overall. I was, like I said, taken back. Some of the tracks like Daylight, and just it really I felt like it was a record that the world needed to hear at the moment, because we talked about it a little bit then, but it was just like some of the lyrical matter was like about current. It was without being very direct. It was like, oh, like this is what's going on. It's like it's just the state of the world right now, and it was kind of what we needed. And I'm glad Shinedown delivered an album that fit that criteria. Truthfully, I'm really glad about that. So that's my number 3.
I mean, we should just take this moment to just thank Kyle for picking me. I mean, we don't do this very often, but let's just thank JT for
very often here.
Let's just thank JT for picking that album. Like, I know I want to just thank him. Like,
oh my God.
No, I do. I want to thank you for choosing that. I think
that's awesome.
I was in shock, man. Because as someone who like I ain't never heard of Shinedown until JT, you said let's do that.
You got to go back and listen to their other records now too.
Yes,
Start,
I
start with
definitely
Sound
did.
of Madness and then work your way around from there.
Yes,
go.
absolutely. And I know they were just on tour as well, like not like big places, but they were just on tour at a couple places locally.
Who did
too,
they
so.
tour with again? I forget who it was.
This tour was they've been touring with Ask Alexandria quite a bit, but I don't think they did on
That's
this
right.
tour.
Mhm.
I know they did one tour with Jelly Roll recently.
Okay.
I don't know who was on the other legs of that tour.
Right.
Hmm.
Yeah, because I remember looking around. I was like, oh, who? It was Jelly Roll and someone. I'm not sure who this is right here. John Harvey. I'm not sure who that is. Whatever. But yeah, Shinedown's Planet Zero was taking me by surprise. I wasn't sure what to expect, and I put it on. I was like, this is pretty good. Why didn't I listen to this before? So you opened my eyes, Kyle.
Yes.
Yes. There we go. All righty. So that's my number 3. Let's go over to Kyle's number 3. Kyle, what is your number 3?
My number 3 album is one that we also covered on the channel. It is Shinedown's Planet Zero. I kid you not. It is Shinedown's Planet Zero.
That's great.
For me, Shinedown's a band I've been a huge fan. Sound of Madness is what got me into them years ago. Been a massive fan since. They're a band that never lets me down with their albums. Even if one is not as good as the others, it's always a solid album. This one is up there with their best work. I completely agree with you, JT. I wouldn't say it surprised me this year because I had a feeling it was going to be good, especially after Planet Zero is the lead single off of it. And,
right.
The follow-up singles were great. So I had high expectations going into it, and it met them, and if not exceeded them. It was great to see excellent guitar work on this, which I feel like we hadn't seen in the past 2 records before this one. More of a stripped down sound other than the interludes, which, to be honest with you, the interludes were one of the few things keeping this from going higher up on my list. I love like concept albums, and I think this does a great job. Like JT had mentioned, it does a fantastic job at just kind of being a very here and now. Here's what's going on in the world. Here's how everyone's kind of feeling. I think it sums that up very nicely. And you can look at it from, speaking from America here, you can look at it from either side, right, left, however you want to look at it. I think you can pull something out of it, which is something that a lot of music that tries to go into that political territory kind of loses. It very much comes off as one side or the other. This doesn't really come off that way. It's more just kind of frustrations with what's going on. I completely get it. I love it. Lyrically, it's great. There's just those interludes bring it down ever so slightly for me. There's too many of them. They're interspersed too often throughout. And there's maybe like one song that I don't come back to very often. Other than that, I was actually just listening to this record the other day. Love it. It has held up throughout the month since its release. And I hope that their next one's as good as this whenever that comes to be.
Hell yeah, my guy. Preach it.
Woo!
Mike,
Woo!
big question.
All
Mike.
right.
Is this your number 3 as well?
My number 3 is Planet Zero. Woo! No, it's not Planet Zero. Sorry, folks. I'm sorry to set you guys up with that, but
false start.
False start.
Yellow flag.
10-yard penalty. Yeah, absolutely. No, but I guess I will get a repeat out of the way now, because my 3, but not third in rank, but a third pick is the Scorpions' Rock Believer. Yeah, I actually agree completely with JT on this, that it was such a shock to me that a band who's been out for so long and kind of seems like there's no more gas in the tank, that's the first song off the album if anyone wants to check that out. It just had what I loved about this album is its change of gear. It kind of went into like the cheesy kind of like 80s sound. It kind of changed off to a new kind of darker sound with The Shining of Your Soul kind of had that and like it just kind of like changed a lot of gears. It didn't bore you. didn't do the same thing over and over again. And if anybody knows me, you guys, I've always talked to you about this. I love an album that knows how to not overdo itself. Like it's the most frustrating thing when we talk about genres in music, because to many people a genre is literally a box. It's like, okay, you are in this box and you can't get out. You're a rock band, so like you can't do anything that has a pop sound to it or like electronic sound to it. And if you do an electronic sound, you're automatically industrial, or you're automatically this or that. Like the bands that do everything well are the ones that are frustrate those people who want to put them into a genre, because they don't know how to comprehend a songwriter who refuses to just do the same thing over and over and over again, and overstay is welcome. And I think that's ultimately where music kind of sits in a like music by numbers. It's just, this is the way it's going to be, or music that's just free to do what it wants and refuse to be kind of pigeonholed into a certain sound. So yeah, like obviously killer track, Rock Believer. I mean, that was great one. Even the ballad at the end, when you know where you come from, like was great. It had some a little bit of it kind of hit a lull in some of the tracks at the end there, and but the first opening tracks it was just great to see a band like the Scorpions just basically like freaking just rock again, and just I can't wait to hear what's next. And I think that's ultimately it's exciting to know that even in 2022, when it seems like music is failing you, or it's putting out less successful tracks, and we're gravitating towards this like releasing one song at a time, and people not even putting albums out in the same room. It's like, yeah, write something and send it to me and we'll all play along with it. It's like, that's so impersonal, and it lacks that kind of like relationship you need in music. And we need more people in the same room writing music together, not doing this digital thing, but like, continuing to get out of the box and write good albums. So yeah, Scorpions, Rock Believer, I'm a believer.
But then you saw her face, right?
And I saw her face and I was a believer.
Exactly.
Name the artist, everyone. Name the artist.
The monkey. Smash Mouth. What's going on?
Smash Mouth.
Or it could be Neil Diamond. Ooh.
No,
yeah,
it's Smash Mouth.
It's Smash
The Smash Mouth version is better.
That's right.
Oh my god. Anyways, all right. So this might surprise you guys. Again, might be a surprise. I'm not sure, but we already talked about it. But I am blown away by it. It might be an understatement, but I was like in shock, because
there you go.
There we go. In 2020, he released his most recent album, and I will say that it going off of that, like, all right, he's getting old, whatever, right? But the fact that he released that album back in 2020, and then he released Patient Number 9. Ozzy Osbourne's Patient Number 9 was in shock. And again, we talked about this one too, not in video, sorry. But Patient Number 9 was, look, I full disclosure, I'm not a big Ozzy guy. I like him. I like, Black Sabbath, and I enjoy some of his solo work. But outside of that, I'm not the biggest fan. This one, and Ordinary Man, this album and Ordinary Man I was in shock. I was like, wow, he can actually do a duet with Elton John and kill it. And then he can do a song with Eric Clapton and kill that too. I was like, how much more versatile can you be so much later in your career? And this just proves that you can do it this well in today's day and age in 2022. And Patient Number 9 by Ozzy Osbourne showed that to me. I'm not a big Ozzy guy. I mean, I like Black Sabbath. I like, like I said, solo work and stuff like that. But outside of that, I wasn't really aware of a lot of stuff. I wasn't sure what he was doing in the 90s. You know what I mean? But like, this album was great. A lot of the features on it I actually really liked a lot. I know that Mike McCready from Pearl Jam's on there, Eric Clapton's on there, Jeff Beck is on there. A lot of really a lot of really great guitarists are on there too. So it just blew me away. Truthfully. This is my number 2. I don't want to go 200 because I know someone else already talked about it. But But it was Mike. That's right. It was totally Mike talked about Ozzy Osbourne's Patient Number 9. And yeah, if you want to get to know more of what we talked about on this album, we did discuss it on our channel and on our podcast as well. So check it out there as well. We did a whole hour-long discussion about why this album's great. You should check it out no matter what. But yeah, so Ozzy Osbourne's Patient Number 9 is my number 2. Kyle, it looks like he's ready to say something so powerful. What do you got, Kyle?
All right, Kyle, let's go.
No, no pressure.
No pressure. My number 2 is actually one for me that was actually didn't hit me as hard when it first came out earlier in the year. But throughout the course of the year built its way up there until recently. I was like, oh, this album is incredible front to back. It's Motionless in White's scoring The End of the World. It is from start to finish fantastic. I wouldn't say it's my favorite Motionless in White record. I think that still belongs to their previous album Disguise. But this one has a maturity to it that the band has brought, that I think that they learned from some of the tracks on the previous album Disguise. A little more emotional. They kind of carried that through from the last record too. The song Slaughterhouse featuring Brian from Knocked Loose. Nuts. That song is the heaviest thing they've done in a while. It brings that energy back. The songs that they use, like the Cyber Hex, where they bring in like some electronic elements, it's fantastic. Chris Motionless sounds great. Really though, I don't know why it didn't connect with me at first. It took me a while to connect with this one. Maybe I just wasn't in a metalcore mood when it came out, but the past couple months I've just been jamming this album nonstop. I never get sick of it. Masterpiece it's a masterpiece. It's a great song. Gotta be corny like that.
Oh, that's
live, I recently saw them on the Trinity of Terror tour that they're on currently, and they killed it. These songs translate so well live, and yeah, it was so close to being number 1. There was just a couple things in there. Like they're one of the few bands I will say that can do sequel songs and do them well. Most bands, when they put out a part 2 to a song or a sequel to a song, it's cringy, it's bad. They've done it many times now. This one was one of the only ones I don't think they've succeeded at. It was Burned at Both Ends too. It took such a good song from their second record, and I don't think it's like a worthy successor to it. And that's really it. Everything else I thought absolutely killed it on this record. Werewolf was an interesting single choice. It's more kind of has like an 80s inspired synth going on. Very cool though. Great music video. All around really great era for the band. They're bigger now than they have been in their entire career. So love to see it. And again, can't wait to see what they do next from here. At this point,
I'm seeing all these pictures. And just seeing all these pictures it reminds me there's a new Beetlejuice movie coming out, so everyone should look forward to that. My sister's gonna be very happy you picked this, Kyle. She's gonna be very happy. I'm gonna have to link her the review so she can listen to you talk about it, because she's probably just thrilled that you mentioned Motionless in White. So
hey, I've been a fan since their first record, been with them all the way since then, their deathcore days, and love it. I love what they became. I think their new stuff is even better than it was back then. A lot of that early stuff didn't hold up as well, but I think this will continue to as the years go by. Sign of Life is a song that should be a single. Really want to highlight that one. That is one of the best ones on here.
Nice.
Mike, tell me this is your number. No, I'm just kidding. What do you got?
Yeah, Patient Number 9 again. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. So, I forgot to mention my previous last year's mention. So I'll mention Trivium's In the Court of the Dragon. Another amazing album, and kind of coming into 2022. We all reviewed this album. This was another a lot of bands who like I was really looking forward to, I've been listening to for so long, released albums in this year, and they weren't the greatest albums, but they were from that band, which was to see a band not just like break up is, you know, and still be a band in today's kind of tough climate with the way music is and how hard it is to make money in it. But Stradivarius has survived. It was an album that definitely played on a very kind of had a similar tone to it. A lot of some of the songs sound the same. But as I began to like kind of listen to some of the this is one of those rare cases where three really great songs can be worth a mention of an album because the rest of them just kind of build the stage for them versus like every album, every song kind of having its own individual you know, like identity. It really makes a three songs on that stand out. And like, let me do my own pickup here. I'm just Googling the track listing and all that, but actually they don't have one on there. That's right, I think we ran into that problem before. But yeah, like it had a bunch of songs on it that just really just kind of stuck with me. And for me, it's a tough album for a band who you know, has so much to live up, yeah, you know, so much to live up to with all of the different albums that I've kind of like grew up listening to and absolutely loved. This album was an absolute it was an absolute kind of just staying piece that it could kind of continue to bring the production and the skill and the guitar and the songwriting. Could have been a little bit better, but overall still the sound is there, still bringing that energy. Yeah, so for me, yeah, Stradivarius survived that. Definitely warming up as I begin to listen to it. And then yeah, like the songs I was talking about, I'm going to use your list here. I think We Are Not Alone, Frozen in Time, I definitely warmed up to. Frozen in Time, why do I keep doing that, damn it. And then World on Fire. And then yeah, I mean, the just the ending of it, the last four songs, Glory Days, you know, Breakaway, and then that amazing like song at the end, just was it The Voice of Thunder? It literally just proves that that band can pull off real long songs where it just has movements. It starts off you know, quiet, then it starts to build momentum, and then it's got this just like they do some real symphonic stuff in this album with the choir and the like kind of very epic sound to it. Stradivarius has always been a band who just kind of brings that epic power metal, modern metal fusion, where they just, like I was telling people, they don't these albums in the last 5 years have not sold out to just doing power metal. Previous efforts were mostly power metal, but these current last 5 albums have been a much more blend of modern metal, power metal, and yeah, so Stradivarius's Survive is my next pick.
All righty. Awesome. I forgot we did that one earlier this year too. I forgot we reviewed that too. Yeah. All right. Is this it? If we come down to our number one?
Well, your guy's number one. My next pick.
Oh, well, we tried.
I know.
Before we do our number ones, I do just want to shout out a couple honorable mentions here that were close to making my list, but didn't. The first one being Hollywood Undead's Hotel California. Great record, return to form after a pretty rough double album that they put out. Other one, completely agree with you guys. Patient Number 9, Ozzy. I mean, at the point, I just read an article today that he says he could hardly even walk right now. So the fact he put out an album that incredible, well done.
Yeah.
Third one, State Champs, Kings of the New Age. Fantastic record as well. It's a nice pop punk throwback sound to it. Some of my top tracks of the year are on here. Others are just kind of generic pop punk. Very enjoyable listen. And the last thing I want to shout out It's not out in its entirety yet, but the Seasons Project by Weezer,
That's right.
amazing. An EP / album, however you want to look at it. The first day of every season, spring, some questionable things going on there, but very much Weezer. Summer, nice and fun record, and then autumn was very good as well, production wise. That was the best of the three. Looking forward to winter coming out very soon. First single from it, great. Even Fantano loved it. He put as one of the best, I think, of the week in his latest video, and he was very critical of the other records here. So I'm very much looking forward to that one. Want to spotlight that since it's not really a album, but if it was, it probably would have made my list. So with that, JT, you want to go through number one?
Oh man. Do we have to?
Pressure. That's it, man.
No pressure, right? No pressure. All right. So this album that I'm going to bring up was a shocker for me. Truly, I actually liked it so much. I saw them on tour, and that's something that that doesn't always happen for me. Like if I hear a new release, it's not. I'd rather go see the artist for the artist and not just to hear the new material. Like I mentioned, Journey. I mean, I'm sure they're going to play some songs from their new album, not all of them, but like some of them from their new album live whenever they tour next year, right? But for this one, I saw they were touring, and I heard the album because the album came out in February or March, I believe, and I was in shock. I was like mentally unstable for a little while, truthfully. It really just it blew my mind, and I can't remember how to talk about it, but because I saw them at Jones Beach. But on Long Island. But this is Tears for Fears, the 80s new wave band. This is my number one because they released an album called The Tipping Point. This album, and I talked about this album once before on our channel as well, on our other show. But this album to me was not only was it universally acclaimed by critics and stuff like that. This was their first album in 18 or 19 years too. Truthfully, I was now normally you'd be like, all right, well, a band doesn't do it. The band doesn't do it that long. A band doesn't they haven't put out. They've just toured a lot. They haven't put out new material, whatever. In shock. This album made me want to go see them live, and I did. I saw them on their last date of their North American tour of this year, and they played a lot of the material live as well. And I'm not one of these people like, I want to go see Shinedown to hear a lot of Planet Zero songs, or not that I would or I wouldn't, but you see my point though. You don't go to see older artists or I guess classic rock or older artists like that to hear new material. But this is when I really wanted to hear the new material live. And I heard it live and I was like, they played, there's I think 9 songs on the record. They might have played 7 or 8 of them live. Outside of Everybody Wants to Rule the World, outside of Shout, outside of their big 80s hits and whatnot, they did play a lot of really good material off this album live. And I was like, and it came over live well too. This was the surprise number. This was my number one, yes, but it was also a surprise album too. I was like, Tears for Fears, those 80s guys, give me a break. They're old. There's no way they're gonna but it really I was in shock. I truly was. I was taken back by how amazing this was. And I went with a friend of mine to see them that night. It was his first time at Jones Beach as well. And I was, he was like, wow, first off, he had never been to the venue either, which for if anyone's ever in New York that's listening to it, go to Jones Beach for a concert. It's a great time. But this one was a shocker for me. I mean, the songwriting was great. The material was great. It was just great songs overall. Blown away by it. I mean, it's just a modern take showing that rock, an older artist can put out a brand new album that is just that solid and just that sonically good. I was blown away by this. Truthfully, this is my number one for the year of 2022. I mean, yeah, I know, crazy words right there. Like we didn't talk about it on our show, Career Retrospectives, because that our show we were doing other stuff at the time. but this was under my radar completely. I didn't stream it. I probably streamed it like 20 times. I was in shock about how much I liked this album as my number one of 2022. I'm surprised by this choice. I'm like, what, But no, but this is my number one of the year. Tears for Fears, The Tipping Point. It deserved all the recognition it gets. It deserves all of the stuff that it got, and that is my number one for the year. Kyle, you're number one of the year. Nick, no pressure. You got this. No pressure.
Yeah. So my number one was probably the biggest surprise to me.
Yeah.
That it made it anywhere near the top, let alone being number one. And JT, I know you try to keep language on this channel pretty PG, but I physically.
I think I know where you're going with this, but go on. I know where you're going with this.
My number one is actually Demi Lovato's latest rock album, Holy Fuck.
Just say it. Just you could.
It's really she
already said it.
I already said it, JT. It's done.
It's done. It's
done. When she announced that she's going to be doing a rock record, I just anticipated, well, this is going to be another Machine Gun Kelly or any of those other new wave of pop punk artists. She's going to just start doing pop rock, pop punk. That's not what we got. This is actually a legitimate rock record. Yes, there is some pop punk on it. There's also some things that hit borderline hard rock down to sometimes a bit of a metal aesthetic and sound to it. And I was impressed, completely blown away throughout the entire thing. There's not a low point on the album. There's a couple of great ballads, very emotional songs on it as well. And the songs that hit hard really hit hard. Again, she didn't, much like the other albums on here that I mentioned that had features that worked well. Every feature on this worked very well, even artists that I don't like. They all worked very well. First song is a feature from Youngblood. I do think he's probably the only downfall of the song, but even he doesn't sound bad. It's still a pretty decent feature. There's a feature toward the end. One of my favorite songs, actually, it's called Help Me, features Dead Sarah. Really good feature. Never heard of them before. Went back, listened to them. Not a fan of their original stuff, which is fine. Royal and the Serpent also features on one of the tracks. Just the variety of sounds throughout the record and the just amount of care that went into it that you could tell, and like passion, I was blown away. Her vocals are incredible. Back when she first started, she did do like pop rock before she went completely pop, but it was never like this. This is actual hard rock. It has really like some of the songs have really like groovy elements to it, very earwormy and very passionate. I hope she continues like this. I have a feeling she will. I don't really see her doing much of the pop stuff anymore, if we're going to be honest. And this is coming from someone that was a fan of some of her pop singles. She was never an album artist for me, but I always enjoyed her songs for the most part. But this one, it really surprised me. If you told me at the beginning of the year that this would have been my top, I would have been like, no, there's no way. But here we are. I can't get enough of it. I come back to it constantly, whether it's the whole record, just putting on a song here or there. It's really blew me away. 100% number one.
Oh,
damn, Mike, how you gonna follow that up?
I can't follow. I mean, there she is in all her Demi Lovato glory. I mean, I just can't.
I'm separating the art from the artist on this one.
Yeah, like
I gotta be honest on that. The past couple of years, she's been pretty insufferable. If we're gonna be honest, just trying to stay relevant. But that's neither here nor there. Incredible album.
I love that word, by the way. Insufferable. It's well said, Kyle. Well said.
Insufferable.
For me, my number one. My number one album.
Good nights.
My number one album. It's not my number one album, but it's a pick on my fifth of my list is Alter Bridge's Pawns and Kings. So this is a that's right.
No, just kidding.
Nice. Fucking Coil. Um,
Ooh,
so
what is
this
it called?
this
Alter Bridges. What? I'm sorry.
Pawns and Kings. Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Thank you.
So this actually was an interesting album in that so their last couple albums I actually wasn't huge on. I actually kind of fell off and The Last Hero was okay. Walk the Sky was, just kind of not really there for me. So I was kind of losing hope in them returning to the form because Fortress, their 2013 album, Alter Bridge 3, their 2010 album, Blackbird, One Day Remains, those albums are fantastic. They're literally from top to bottom, like rarely any bad songs on any of them. So to have two albums in a row kind of just underperform, I just didn't have a ton of hope for Bonds and Kings. But when I first saw that album cover, it punched me in the face. I was like, did this band just turn into like a death metal band or some kind of I was just shocked. I was just like, whoa, like it just that didn't look like their kind of style. So and this band, I actually for the first time, I'm actually going to go see them in Red live in February. I'm super excited. So
Yeah, Mike's going to a concert.
I know, man. I'm gonna pop that concert. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, like I basically am super excited to see. So coming into this album, I just didn't know what to expect, and man, it was definitely. It started out like I swear to God, it started out like a very epic kind of just like power metal slash like hard just metal kind of style. Like it had it just didn't sound like their usual kind of stuff, and yeah, like so basically I just really dig this album. The first song, "This Is War," that's just it brings that kind of power. And then, I mean, it's got some real good choruses on it. It's kind of front loaded. Once you reach "Holiday," which I swear to God, the very beginning sounds like they may slightly be playing Green Day's "Holiday." I swear to God, I don't know how this is possible, but I swear, like maybe I just hallucinated it or just
could be a good sampling. There you go.
Yeah, I swear to God, it's almost like the guitarist kind of just jokingly plays it in the background a little bit, and then it just like fades away into the song. But yeah, it was after that point, it didn't have a strong finish to the album. Definitely not their greatest album by all means, but it for sure kind of definitely brought that kind of power. The riffing, oh my God, like some of the riffs, and that freaking Tremonti guy is just the man. I just never didn't expect a guy who used to play in Creed to just play as well as he did. I mean, and Miles Kennedy, who can't love the godly angelic voice brought from above of Miles Kennedy? I mean,
who could ever not?
Who can't in this stream right now? Starts with K, ends with Isle. Wouldn't love Miles Kennedy.
What a monster!
What a monster!
Holy
K
fuck!
K to the Isle.
Kyle's Menedy. Old Kyle's Menedy over there.
Yeah, Kyle Schmenedy over there. Yeah. So no, it just. I mean, it's brought me back hope that they'll continue in the kind of direction of a riff heavy kind of rocking kind of experimental. Like who knows, this could be their kind of pathway into like more like a harder metal, it just seems like they're kind of blending it very slowly, nothing too crazy. So yeah, for me, Alter Bridge, Pawns and Kings, send it.
Wow.
There you go.
Where am I sending it?
I don't know, Kyle. I didn't say it in any hopes that I knew what it was going to, do. I just did it. All right. I don't think before this stuff. All right. Damn it.
No, I don't think either, but that's okay. It's part of my lifestyle. Whatever.
Thinking's for losers. All right.
Yeah, thinking's for losers.
Yeah, loser. Yeah.
Oh my God.
2023. It's completely shot.
Our 2023 is done. We're all done. Oh God. Well, anyways, that's gonna do it for our top 5 best albums of 2022. Next week's gonna be a total blast because we're gonna talk about the top 5 worst albums of 2022. Next week for our last episode of Career Retrospectives for the year. I mean, it's hard to believe we're already coming close to the end here. My God, what's going on?
Yes.
You know?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. There's been plenty of shit the whole way through.
That's
And
it.
but yeah, so we want to thank you all for watching, listening, however you enjoyed us. And if you haven't already, subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on our social media accounts, simply at the Super Review Show. And you can like, comment, subscribe, whatever you gotta do. Thank you so much for watching, listening, however you enjoyed us. But for all of us here, for Career Perspectives, stay safe, take care. We'll see you guys next week.